So a huge recovery from Bitcoin this week as it bounces from 49k all the way back up to 61k. In this video, I'm going to be going over some potential bullish setups for altcoins, but also reasons why we should be cautious in this area as we could be hitting a local top on BTC. Let's get into it. Starting then, of course, with BTC itself, and as I say, a huge recovery from 49k we've seen this week, up around, well, from wick to wick, a 27% recovery, which is absolutely huge. We went over the crash on Monday's video, and since then it's obviously been up only. Talked about the potential of losing 52k as a weekly level support, and if we did do that, we'd probably see 45k. Obviously that hasn't happened, and we have saved the level of 52k, or I certainly think so. Very unlikely that we get back down there within the next couple of days. Of course, weekly close on crypto on Sunday as opposed to Friday in the traditional markets. However, to the upside, we do have a little bit of area for caution, as I mentioned. So we've got this weekly level of 60.5k, and we know that's been a huge level of support and resistance all the way back from March 2021. It provided support here for the last final bounce in November 2021. And was the level that we lost, which signaled the bear market. And then, of course, it was support when we closed back over it in February, and was huge support for a long time until we closed back below, and then we've deviated a couple of times. So not only have we got that resistance there, we've also got the moving average 21 on the weekly time frame as well as a potential area of rejection. If we go down to the daily time frame as well, we've got more reasons to be cautious. So if we take a look, zoom out, we're obviously in a much bigger range now. The range used to be from 60k up to about 73. We're now expanded. So the range low we've got now is around 52k. This previous area of consolidation from back in February of this year. The range high obviously still remains 73k, and now we have a mid-range in at 62.6k, which not only that, which we've just tapped yesterday on the wick, but not only do we have that, we also have the moving average 21 acting as resistance as well. And not only that, but if we take a wick, take the fib retracement from the swing high of 70k down to the swing low of 49k the other day, the 618 lines up perfectly with both the moving average 21 and the daily mid-range. And not only that, if that wasn't enough, we're also currently rejecting off of the RSI 50 with a red trend bar on our LC trend and momentum indicator as well. So as I say, plenty of reasons to be cautious, especially if you manage to buy the bottom down here at 49k on things. Probably a really good area to consider taking some profits, take a little bit of money off the table should we see a bit more downside, if we do see a bit of a retracement. Now if we flip the fib and go from 49k bottom up to where we have potentially made a local high here at 62.6, the retracement 618 retracement actually takes us back to 54k where these candle bottoms are, which I would not be surprised to see if we did come back down there and sort of front run the lows, make a higher low from this wick. So potential area there, as I talked about as well. We may well be seeing a bit of a corrective phase similar to what we saw back in May of 2021, where we came down, had this horrible 50% retracement from the highs down to the lows, 52, 53%. And then we chopped around for a little bit. You can see this is the weekly time frame. So a number of weeks. In fact, we just quickly check how many weeks that is. So it was about 9 weeks we chopped around at the bottom for, retested the lows 3 times before finally exploding out. So will we see something similar with that here, where we come down, retest these lows at 52, the low 50s, before finally making that run back to the range highs? You know, we're still in August, still in holiday season. September is usually where things start heating up. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. As I say, probably a good area to be cautious at the moment. If we take a look at Ethereum, not as clean, unfortunately, a bit hard to read Ethereum at the moment. I did talk about wanting to try and get in on a test of this monthly range high on Monday, but of course, as I say, it's just been up only since then, so we never got that retest of the lows. We may well still get it, although it looks a lot more unlikely now. Also talked about the potential of Ethereum holding this 2500 weekly level and having a trade off that, but again, it's zipped up so much. We're now at 2600, so maybe with a weekly close up here, if we then see a pullback, as I say, a BTC, a potential area of retracement, if we see ETH pull back into 2500, that might be a nice trade next week, potentially targeting 2848 as a TP1, and then the monthly level of 3700 as a TP2, because there is that possibility that we do just go straight to the highs from here, who knows? But that's the sort of setup you're looking at. 13%, 13.5% on a TP1 and 50% on the TP2 if we do get that pullback. Well, if we do get that weekly close above 2500 and then that pullback into it. In terms of obviously weekly candle closes, want to see a weekly candle close above 2850. That basically makes this whole move one big deviation, and we'll probably see a very quick move back up to the highs. So all dependent on these weekly candle closes. On the daily daily time frame, I should say, again, not really as clear as BTC. A potential trade you've got on Ethereum is if we only get a shallow pullback, maybe retest this daily level of 2593 and then play that up to the weekly level of 2840. And you can see that's about a 10% move, which isn't too bad at all. But as I say, it's a little bit choppy on the ETH chart compared to the BTC chart. You can see 2848 is a big level both on the weekly and the daily chart. So if we do catch any pullbacks, that's probably a really good area to take a slight bit of profit. In terms of ETH BTC, as I talked about on Monday's video, hit a really nice level of 0.04. This is a huge level to hold, in my opinion, because if we break 0.04, you can see this has been a big level of previous resistance. We're now testing it as support. If we lose this as support, then who knows how low ETH BTC goes. May well go all the way back to sort of 0.018, the bottom of this range here. So hopefully this holds, and hopefully we actually see a bit of a resurgence. Maybe we've already had that capitulation in ETH. I know a lot of people not big fans of ETH anymore after its lack of performance in this cycle. A lot of people moving over to Solana, but these things have a tendency, when people think that a certain project is dead, things get reignited and come back to life once everyone's been shaken out. So as I said on Monday, nice big wick on the weekly time frame. Need to sort of see, could do with these lows holding here at 0.045, although looks pretty unlikely at the moment. But if we move on to Bitcoin dominance, again, as I talked about on Monday, we are right at the top of this big monthly resistance here. So probably would be an ideal area, or an area that you would expect to see a bit of a retracement and a pullback on dominance, one that we've not really seen ever since about November, December 23. We had a bit of a pullback, but since then it's just been up only. So we'll have to see. If we do see a breakout of Bitcoin dominance, then we probably are likely to see another drop in ETH BTC. So we'll just have to monitor that. As I say, don't really want to see a close below 0.04. Drop in the comments below what you think is going to happen with ETH BTC and Bitcoin dominance. Do you think we're going to see another spike in Bitcoin dominance and a drop in ETH BTC, or do you think an alt season is potentially around the corner? Do you think we've capitulated on ETH and alts enough and they're finally going to start outpacing BTC? Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Now, speaking of alts, let's get into some potential bullish setups depending on the weekly chart. In fact, actually, before I do that, I just want to show you one more thing why we should be cautious where we are at the moment. If we take a look at the S&P, again, that obviously had a huge crash, but is now recovering very well as we go through the week. A potential area for retracement on the S&P is if we go a little bit higher, up to around 5,400. That is where the moving average 21 and the 618 retracement and this sort of daily level of support resistance meets as well. And it could also push up into the RSI 50 and still with a red trend bar as well on the LC trend and momentum indicator as well. So something to watch out for if the S&P continues to go up into next week. Now, of course, is the weekly close of the S&P today, so we'll see what fun and games appear in the US market open, which, I mean, this video would have come out after that's happened, so yeah, it could be a little bit outdated. Who knows what's going to happen, but it's certainly going to be an interesting week next week, and very interesting weekly candle closes on crypto. Speaking of which, let's get into the altcoins that I talked about. So ADA managing to hold this weekly level of 32.2 cents. So this is a potential trade back up to 45 cents. Now, of course, ideally you would have wanted to get a entry closer to this weekly level, so we may well see a little bit of a pullback in the coming days, you can see. So maybe you get an opportunity if the weekly candle closes above or on this weekly level, you can jump in there and play that back up to 45 cents. The only trouble you've got with these huge wicks is where to put your stop loss, and that's just going to have to be determined by you on a personal level based on how much leverage you're using and what your position size is. But maybe a stop loss below these wicks here, about 31 cents, might be good. Obviously depending as well, as I say, whether we do actually get that weekly candle close above this level. So have to wait and see on that, but that is something to watch out for on the weekly candle close on Sunday and on Monday morning to see if we can get that trade on there. Another one that's very similar is AVAX. That's actually sat right on this weekly level at the moment, so you could take the risk. You can see it's big level of previous support and resistance all the way back from April 2021. But you could take the risk here and enter. As I say, though, you want to be really cautious with where BTC is at the moment. But yeah, I personally would wait for the weekly candle close. If we do close in around here, this would be perfect. If we closed here on the weekly candle, because then it's right on the weekly level of support, ride that back up to the previous resistance of, again, big level of $32.50. Or maybe you want to front run that slightly and get out where this weekly candles meet the moving average 21. Again, stop loss is a bit tricky with that big wick, but maybe somewhere below here at about $19.20. Again, all dependent on how much leverage you're using and your position size, what you're willing to risk and lose on the trade. And then finally, you got Doge. Again, very similar to AVAX, huge level of previous support, nice big bullish wick, and we are closing right on the weekly level at the moment. As I say, we've still got 3 days to go, but if you were to enter this, say it closed around here on the weekly candle close, play that back up to 14.2 cents, and that is a nice 36% return should you get it. Again, stop loss a little bit tricky with that huge wick on the daily, probably down here at around 9.2 cents, although that is quite far down. So again, probably have to judge it based on how much you're willing to lose on the trade based on your leverage and position size. So that's what I'm looking at next week. Drop in the comments below what sort of trades you're looking at, any positions you're looking at taking, or do you think we're going to see a big retracement next week? Do you think this is just one big dead cat bounce? Let me know in the comments below. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the next video.